like that hard knock, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm gonna call it right down the middle the way I see it. So, but let's discuss. I just want to discuss some issues, and over here, I'm sure some of the important questions you might have also is like, oh, I get this a lot. Sergio, are you straight? Are you bi? Are you bisexual? What are you? Like what? And the important answer to that is it doesn't really matter what I am. Like I give you guys the answer that say to everybody when I'm dancing is, I can be whatever you want me to be. But in the end of the day, I think it's important to accept people for who they are. I think that's very important because for me, it's such a huge uh, thing for me to that freedom, to accept people for who they are because it's something that as a young kid, my family constantly pushed onto me because of our background is to accept people for who they are because believe it or not, that is not the case all over the world. It's a huge thing to have that freedom out here in the U.S. It's a blessed thing to have that freedom of speech, the freedom to express who you are and not be handcuffed and thrown in jail or just beaten down like a dog. Uh, Basically, what I want to talk about some things, some important even political issues like I have a lot of gay friends, and even some of my family members, also who are gay. So I uh, I have I want to discuss basically. I have some questions I'm going to ask you guys, and I want to discuss some issues that is probably in the news. Like um, gay marriage, acceptance of the gay community, which I believe is an integral issue in the gay community because it's we want everybody wants to be accepted for who they are and not be discriminated against for something that they can't control. Especially when it is hurting nobody. Um, so I believe that some things that I want to discuss was the way some of the things are run in the gay community out here in Arizona, and these are just my observations. I intend to disrespect nobody. I do not want to disrespect nobody. These are purely my observations, and I'm just want to speak my piece and just give my you know information and just speak my mind a little bit and connect with some of the people out here because you know it's good to be heard and it's good to hear people. So I was let me start with gay pride, for example. Um, I think it was 2010 where it was my first gay pride out here in Arizona, and I was working this float for it was Carambas, which is a wonderful club, by the way. It's very fun. They have a fun atmosphere. It's beautiful. Come check them out sometimes. But yes, I was working this float for Carambas, and I didn't really know what I was getting into at the time. It was taking place in Central Phoenix. I think it was around Seventh Avenue. So I got up on this. They told me that they wanted me in my underwear, and I was gonna be parading on this float down the street. And I was like, oh, okay. I've never done it before, or anything like that. But I mean, they were gonna pay me a good price. So I was like, okay, And it turned out to be a little bit weird, because here I am on this float in my underwear, and there's like little kids, you know, walking around, and that made me feel a little bit. No, that made me feel not a little bit. That actually made me feel very uncomfortable. I thought it was a little bit weird, because there was grown men, and like very tight, very tight Daisy Dukes underwears. Some of them were, you know, making out with each other, and some of them were wearing like really skimpy clothing, and some of them had like handcuffs on each other, and some of them were like had like bondage change on the throat, and they were like crawling on the streets and stuff like that. And I thought that was like, okay, I understand it's gay pride, and there's a lot of you know facets to the gay lifestyle. It's like, and the same thing can be said for the straight lifestyle. But I thought it was a little bit honestly inappropriate, and what I would like to say is this, that you know we're striving to basically show people that the gay community is normal. You can have a normal life. Two gay parents can raise a child, and raise him just as well as straight parents, and have you know have a normal life. It's not raise that kid to have mental issues or social hang-ups or anything like that. So it bothered me a little bit, because he were these people maybe that were just passing through, and they were being exposed to this, and I seen it. Like little kids, I saw countless little kids, and I'm not talking about like 15, 16. I'm talking about like 7, 8 years old, and they're seeing these dudes with chains and bondage on each other, and like uh, Daisy Duke shorts, and like yelling gay pride, we're like accept us, and this and that and this and that. And I was like, I started feeling very like uncomfortable, because I don't believe that's what gay pride should be about. Look, I'm not a prude at all. Hello, I'm a dancer, I'm a stripper. But I think that I would like to see a little bit more proper approach and class when you try to show the world that, look, this is who we are, this is what we're about. There's a proper time and place for everything, whether it's dancing, whether it's demonstrating a public issue. Um, there's nothing wrong with S&M bondage, men wearing Daisy Dukes, that show half of your buttocks. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you're trying to convey an issue, a message of, you know, acceptance, and illustrating respect, and just illustrating to the world that this is who we are, this is what we're about. You wanna be on at your best. You wanna showcase to the world that, look, this is who we are. We're not a bunch of, we're not here for debauchery. We're not here for to have an orgy on the street. We're not here to terrorize the young kids and just all this crazy stuff. And we're here to have a peaceful, a classy demonstration. Where we all get together and support each other in a common cause. And that was one of my issues that I would like to just get off my chest. And I thought it's something that I would like to, and it's this, and it's not was not just in Phoenix like that, because I went down to Tucson, and it was if anything, it was a lot worse in Tucson. So what I would like to see is maybe a different approach. I definitely don't want to see, because there are a lot of good people. There's a lot of good people in in the gay community. I have a lot of um, gay friends, some who are very upstanding businessmen who have a lot to contribute to society, and I don't think it's they should be discriminated against based on some of the approaches and the way gay pride, for example, was run. I'm sure that didn't create many fans when they saw that. I know for one thing, if I had a child and I was walking down, whether I was gay, straight, bi, whatever, if I was, let's say, passing through there, I would have been like, what the fuck? I would have been like, what is this? I mean, this is fucked up. I'm not saying everybody was like that, but there was more than a few people like that going crazy, and